Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the architecture of language. We're going to unpack a single, absolutely crucial word, a versatile tool that literally helps us measure, judge, and make sense of the whole world around us. We use the concept behind this word every single day, usually without even realizing it. But by the end of our time together, you're going to have a rock-solid understanding of exactly how it functions. So let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. Heavy compared to what? The trap of vague adjectives. So before we officially reveal our word of the day, I want you to think about the descriptive words, adjectives, that we toss around constantly. We're always saying things are hot, cold, tall, or short, but there's a sneaky little trap hidden in these vague adjectives. They usually completely lack a baseline. Like, think about the weight of your backpack pulling on your shoulders right now. Is it heavy? Well, you might instinctively say, yeah, for sure, or maybe you'd say it's pretty light today. But what actually makes it heavy? I mean, a heavy backpack for a kindergartner is wildly different from a heavy backpack for an experienced mountaineer, right? Think of it this way. If you're holding a feather in one hand, your typical school backpack is going to feel absolutely massive. But if you suddenly pick up a 16-pound bowling ball, well, that same backpack suddenly feels light as a feather itself. The whole concept of heavy depends entirely on what you're measuring it against. It's really just a game of relativity. And that leaves us always having to ask an invisible yet totally essential question to really understand what's going on. Which brings us to Section 2, Meet the Word. Introducing today's vocabulary. To solve this relativity problem, we need a specific vocabulary word that captures this exact act of measuring one thing against another. And that word is comparative. Now, say it with me. Comparative. It's a wonderfully flexible four-syllable word. And the cool thing is, it functions as both an adjective and, in some specific contexts, a noun. At its core, it simply means involving comparison or being judged by comparing one thing to another. Moving right along to Section 3, the Latin root. Where exactly did this word come from? Language is honestly a lot like an archaeological dig. The deeper you go, the more you understand the foundation. And hiding right smack in the middle of our word is the ancient Latin root par, which translates directly to equal. This is a super busy root that spawns several modern relatives we use all the time. Words like pair, par, like you'd use in golf, and peer, meaning you're equals. When you're comparing things, you're fundamentally setting them side by side as equals, just to see how they measure up against one another. It's kind of like leveling the playing field to find the real truth. All right, Section 4, an archipelago of meaning. 2 islands, 1 word. I want you to think of this word as an archipelago. It's one unified word, but it has these distinct little islands of usage depending on the context. Over on the first island, the everyday sense, it functions as a general adjective, meaning judged by comparing. But hop over to the second island, the grammatical sense, and it becomes this structural label used to show a higher degree of something. Like when we change the word new to newer or fast to faster, it is the exact same word with 2 beautifully related yet completely distinct uses. Let's take a look at that everyday sense in action. Check out this quote. From a comparative point of view, he's doing very well this year. See, if we just look at him in total isolation, it might be pretty hard to judge how well he's actually doing. But when we evaluate him side by side with others, from a comparative point of view, boom, it's totally clear he's excelling. Now consider the seeming paradox in this next quote. After 5 years of training, she is still only a comparative beginner. 5 years is a really long time. How on earth can she still be a beginner? Well, a comparative beginner is only a beginner when measured against a specific group. Maybe she's being compared to the absolute world-class experts in her field. Judged by comparing, she is still just a beginner even with 5 whole years under her belt. Okay, let's shift gears and look at that grammatical island. Newer and more readily are the comparative forms of new and readily. Here, the word acts as a literal label for words that have been actively altered. You're either adding an ER to the end of the word or slapping a more onto the front of it. And we do this specifically for the purpose of comparing 2 things. This leads us perfectly into Section 5, the word detective, rules of grammar and opposites. Sometimes the absolute best way to define exactly what a word is to clearly establish what it's not. Let's put our detective hats on for a second. An adjective state is either absolute, meaning it stands entirely on its own, like the word fast, or it relies on a baseline.
Faster is in the comparative state, strictly comparing two things. But, and this is a big but, don't confuse this with the superlative state. Superlative takes comparison to the absolute extreme, naming the very top tier out of 3 or more things. That's where you get words like fastest.
Finally, Section 6. Try it yourself. Let's put it into practice. Because at the end of the day, language is a tool, and it's meant to be wielded by you. So take a look around you right now. Pick 2 things you own. Which one is bigger, or older, or better? The very second you make that judgment, you're using the grammatical comparative to literally define your reality. Remember, comparative means judged by comparison, or it's those and more grammatical forms. So next time you call a situation good or a problem bad, I want you to ask yourself that invisible question. Compared to what? Actually, it really makes you wonder, if everything we know is just a comparison, what does absolute truth actually look like? Keep measuring your world, and I'll see you in the next explainer.